what's up guys, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we're going to be looking at the Play Arts Kai Dark Knight Trilogy BANE figure. Now obviously BANE was only in the third movie, so is the Dark Knight Rises, but technically they're going by the trilogy, so here he is. He stands, how tall does he stand? Right now he stands with his head bent over a little bit, about 9 inches tall. With his goofy tall neck and his goofy head, he stands more like 9.5. So he's probably a little bit short. Well, I guess not based on the movie, since Tom Hardy's shorter than what's his name? What's Batman's name? Christian Bale. But as far as Bane goes, since they made this Bane way more muscular and everything, they probably should have made him a little taller too. But that is neither here nor there because it's close enough to where I don't really give a crap. So it's good enough for me for the height. This figure is, as a whole, a good figure, but there are some things that I need to point out, especially since I had to do some surgery on this guy, which wasn't exactly an easy thing. So I'll point that out when we get to it. As far as accessories go, he comes with just the one head, and he has one fist for each side, one of the for the gloved hand, his right hand. Paintwork is good enough. It looks better in person than it does on camera, since the camera picks up stuff your eye's not going to see. But it looks okay. It's good enough. And then one of the regular hands, which apparently he has freckles. I don't know why they did that so much, but he's got a lot of freckles. Then he has an open hand for each side as well. There's the gloved one, there's the ungloved one, and he comes with a broken Batman mask, which is hard to hold. No, it's not quite the way it looked in the movie, because it was cracked in on the top, I'm pretty sure, in the movie, like right here. But whatever, that's not a big deal at all. It has little cutouts in it, one there and two there. No, two there for the hand to hold. I suppose that's not a cutout, that's just being broken. And that is because he can't hold it any other way. It's a solid hunk of plastic, which is kind of a bummer. It would have been cool if they made it actually look like the cowl on the inside too. I don't know if it actually says on this, which we might as well just do this while we're looking. He also comes with a display base inside the blister, so it's the same one we've seen a bunch of times now. There's a picture of how it would look once it's put together. It's adjustable everywhere and it's cool. The blister is black for Bane, so you can tear this out without worrying too much. Doesn't really show you how he holds the mask, which is what I was checking for. So let's see if we can get him to hold the mask on camera, sort of live. This is real entertainment right here. So I'm pretty sure that's how you're going to have him hold it. It popped right in. So maybe like that, with the thumb on the back of the head and the finger in that hole. Let's try it the other way. No, that's not going to work. How about like that? That's pretty much what I just did, I think. Yeah, so it looks like that's how it's going to be held. I don't see any other way to do it. So the thumb in the back and the finger there. That's not going to look right. That's not going to look right. Let's see if we can do it with the other side. No, not really. So it looks like gloved hand only, and only like this, which I guess is good enough. I mean, it'll be good enough to make that pose that was iconic in all of the trailers leading up to the movie. So that's fine with me, no big deal. That's all he has for accessories. So he doesn't have nearly as much going on as Batman did. If you didn't see that review, I put it up yesterday, so you can click on the link right there and go take a look. So I don't know why. I mean, Bane's not especially big or detailed or anything. I mean, there's detailing, but I'm not really sure why they didn't include half as much stuff as Batman had, and he has a cape and everything, so your guess is as good as mine. As far as the paint goes, he's pretty good. There's a lot of gloss on him that shouldn't be, probably. The torso in particular, there's a lot of shininess going on there. It's noticeable in the back especially. The skin is shiny also, not so much so that it's really a problem. Well, it's hard to say with the harsh lighting, because it's making everything look even extra shiny. But I guess you could call him sweaty and say it's not too much of a problem, or that he was in the sewer fight type area. So, I don't know. I mean, it does look a little bit shiny to me. So I guess that's not a good thing. His veins are gray, which reminds me of Toy Biz Marvel Legends and gray veins. Don't get that at all. Doesn't look right. Didn't look like that in the movie, obviously, and even if he did have the venom in the movie, the gray is not how it would have been done, probably. So I don't care for that. The paintwork everywhere else, it's good enough to be passable, but it is a little sloppy. There is, let's get the arm out of the way. There's just random spots of gold floating around. None of the details are especially cleanly done. I mean, it's just passable. The lines where the skin meets the green are not very clean. The veins themselves, even if they weren't gray, they're not painted very well. They're a little sloppy, so that's not ideal. The face, as you can see, has some gray up on the cheek from the mask. The eyes are painted well enough. The face is pretty glossy. The mask itself is painted well enough, again, but not particularly well. And when I got Bane, the mask is actually a separate piece from the head. There's no face underneath or anything, so don't get excited. It's not meant to come off, but mine was way crooked. It looked like he'd been bashing his head up against a wall, and the mask was up here, and looked like he was trying to make a derpy face. So I had to do a lot of work to get the mask off first. Then I had to trim parts out and glue it in place to get it to stay where it belongs, which is mostly centered right now. It's as best as I could do. And you can see now that there's a bit of a gap in the back because it didn't fit quite right. So apparently that's just a crooked mold, or mine is somehow super defective, which I guess I could have had even more bad luck than I have been. But aside from all of that, even, if you just look, the way they made it, it doesn't look good at all. The neck doesn't seat inside the head. The head's pretty much flat underneath. Well, not flat, but there's no place for the neck to go. So the head sits on top of the neck rather than going up inside much more. And then the neck just really, it's kind of long and awkward, and it just looks pretty goofy. I don't care for it, even head on. His head seems to stick out a little bit too far for me. So you're really going to have to pose him to get him to look good. And if you put the neck all the way up, there's a big gap in the neck, so I don't like that. When you put it forward, there's a gap in the back, and it just, it never looks really natural. So my recommendation is to bring the head all the way forward like I just did there, and to just kind of have him in a downward angle. And then it doesn't look so bad. Once you pose him, it looks okay. Kind of like the that one poster, I guess. No, it definitely doesn't look good from the back. So whatever, it's not a good job for the head and neck, I have to say. It's pretty disappointing. The shoulders are really bulbous, and the part of the chest where they connect is really flat. It just doesn't look good. It looks really awkward. It's not, like I said, again, once you pose these guys, it's not an issue, but looking straight on, the shoulders are really ugly. And the butterfly joint on this side, it works pretty well. It brings the shoulder forward a good amount. This side, not nearly as much. It doesn't swing out as far. Focus, come on, camera. So his right side, the left on the screen, does not come out as far. The shoulder gets hit by the chest. This one swings out a little bit farther. So that's something to note. The articulation, though, for the head, just to be specific, is a double ball peg and a double ball peg again for the head and then the neck. Shoulder has the butterfly joint plus the ball hinge shoulder. So once you actually bring the arm up, and that's why there's a big gap, it's so that you can rotate it out like that. The gap is gone and doesn't look nearly as bad. So like I said, once you pose it, you'll be okay. Then there's the Bicep Swivel, which kind of just like the Guile figure, Street Fighter Guile that I just reviewed last week, I guess. The bicep is sculpted in a way that doesn't let you rotate it around the shoulder ball. I mean, you can really force it and it'll go, but this sculpt in here is getting in the way. Let's bring this back so you guys can see what I'm talking about. It's got a ball hinge in the elbow, so it rotates at the top and at the bottom, and is ratcheted, of course. Same exact joint for the wrist, just a little bit smaller. No ratchet in the wrist. It's supposed to be ratcheted, but it's a little bit loose. Same for the other side. The upper torso is standard double ball peg, so pretty good range of motion there, not too much of a problem. The straps do hang down. They're hard plastic though, not hard, but hard enough to where they could scratch, I guess, if you're not careful. And then the straps in the back hang down just a little bit, but not too much. It keeps the continuity well enough. Now this is new. Normally they have their floating crotch piece above the lower torso. This time it's the opposite, because they made the belt as part of the torso rather than part of the groin. So this part is, even though it's on the ball peg, it's a lot more limited than normal because it is above the floating piece. So you're going to have to spend some time to get used to that and used to posing it. But it should be okay. I mean, once you get imposed, it should look pretty good, I think. So no big deal. The hips are ratcheted front to back and side to side, so posability is not an issue. You can probably get about 90 degrees out of it if you really try. Pretty close, not all the way, but it's not horrible. And then the ball, or the thigh, rotates around the ball peg, so that's okay. These double jointed knees, they're ugly as always, but they're a little bulkier, so it's not quite as bad. Knee pads are on there, they help the sculpt a little bit. The ankles are the same as the elbows and the wrists. They rotate at the top of the boot, at the foot, and then they are ratcheted. The peg for the ball joint is at an angle. It's just a slight angle on this guy apparently. So the foot, in order to get it to have an ankle rocker, you have to really rotate the ball peg all the way around, which is not always the easiest thing to do. Mine doesn't want to do it at all right now. There we go. So that way you can give him an ankle rocker, because using, come on, get back into place. Using this cut joint that they built into the foot isn't a good idea. It's ugly and they don't work well. I don't know why they did it. And this one's really loose, so that might be a common issue. So be careful with that. Otherwise the boots look okay. Having that ball joint in there doesn't look the best, but what are you going to do? You need to have a joint. So I don't know. It's not the best looking figure. It's definitely workable, but it's not nearly as good as I would have liked. Let's do a quick pose with the Batman cowl in his hand. And I don't know, I guess it's okay, but it's definitely not as impressive as I was hoping it would be. Pretty much like the Batman, the Dark Knight Rises movie. Everybody was hoping it would be good. Some people said it was, but let's be honest. It wasn't nearly as good as it could have been. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but I stand by it, just like I stand by my opinion of this figure. It's good enough, but definitely not as good as it could have been. Insert some kind of witty remark about the figure we deserve and something like that. Alright, so there it is, guys. There's Bane, Play Arts Kai, Dark Knight Trilogy. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more figure reviews, more custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.